Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share a powerful story with you. A tiny tale with a huge message that I think we all need to hear. This isn't just any story. It's about a little ant named Kiro, and his journey might just inspire you to look at your own life a little differently. Our story begins deep within a lush, green forest, where an ant colony bustled with life. Among them lived Kiro, a little ant who wasn't weak, not by any means. He was actually quite capable. The problem? Kiro was, well, let's just say, he had a serious case of the Whittemar syndrome. Was lazy. Every single morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the canopy, the other ants would eagerly march out, their tiny legs moving with purpose, ready to gather food for the colony. They were diligent, organized, and absolutely committed. But Kiro would still be nestled deep in the comfort of the nest, usually letting out a long, drawn-out yawn, watching them go. He'd shrugged his tiny shoulders and think, oh, one day without work won't hurt. Right? What's the big deal? Everyone else is bringing in food anyway. The colony will be fine. My efforts really aren't that critical today. This wasn't a one-off thing. It was a daily ritual for Kiro. He genuinely believed that his contribution, or lack thereof, would make a noticeable difference in the grand scheme of things. After all, there were hundreds, thousands of other ants, right? They'd pick up the slack. His friends, who genuinely cared about him, noticed his increasingly absent role. They'd often approach him with worried expressions, trying to gently nudge him towards his responsibilities. Kiro, one would say, you really should help out more. We're approaching the rainy season, you know. We need to store up as much as we can before the storms hit. Another would add, every bit helps, Kiro. Don't you want to be part of securing our future? But Kiro, ever the optimist, or perhaps simply in denial, would just laugh off their concerns. He'd wave a dismissive antenna and quip, rain never lasts forever, does it? Why worry about something that's going to pass anyway? We've been through rainy seasons before. We'll be fine. There's no need to panic. He was so confident in his carefree attitude, so sure that things would just work themselves out. He couldn't grasp the concept of collective effort and foresight, always trusting that others would handle the heavy lifting. His friends' warnings, born of wisdom and experience, simply bounced off him, leaving him untouched by their urgency. Then, one fateful afternoon, the sky grew dark, not with the usual twilight, but with an ominous, heavy gray. A storm, unlike any they had ever witnessed, began to brew. It was stronger, fiercer, and more relentless than anyone in the colony could have possibly imagined. The heavens opened up, unleashing a torrent of heavy rain that pounded the forest floor without mercy. Within minutes, the usually dry ant tunnels began to fill with water. The carefully constructed paths and chambers, the very arteries of their home, started to collapse under the overwhelming pressure of the flood. Chaos, raw and terrifying, erupted throughout the colony. Suddenly, Kiro's world, which had always felt so safe and secure thanks to the efforts of others, was turned upside down. He watched, horrified, as the rising water threatened to consume everything. Panic seized him. He saw the soldier ants, usually stoic and unyielding, now scrambling, desperately carrying precious eggs on their backs, struggling through the treacherous, rising water. He saw the worker ants, those who had tirelessly gathered food day in and day out, now battling the flood, trying to save what little provisions they could, even as the water soaked their tiny bodies and threatened to drag them away. The scene was one of sheer desperation, a fight for survival against an unstoppable force. And in the midst of this terrifying maelstrom, a sight truly shocked Kiro to his core. There, among the struggling masses, was the queen ant herself, not observing from a safe distance, not issuing commands from a protected chamber, but actively participating. She was helping to protect the most vulnerable, the unhatched eggs, moving them to higher ground, leading by example with an unwavering resolve. This was a moment of profound revelation for Kiro. He had always seen the queen as a majestic, almost untouchable figure, someone far removed from the daily grind. But here she was, her royal status forgotten, working alongside everyone else, her own safety secondary to the survival of the colony. Something inside Kiro, something deep within his complacent little ant heart, finally stirred. For the very first time in his life, he felt a powerful wave of shame wash over him. Shame for his laziness, shame for his dismissive attitude, shame for taking advantage of his community. But then, almost immediately, that shame transformed into something else entirely, a fierce, burning determination, a resolve to act, to contribute, to finally be a part of the solution instead of just a bystander. He couldn't stand idly by any longer. He couldn't just watch while everyone else risked everything. Without a moment's hesitation, Kiro sprang into action. The lazy ant was gone, replaced by a surge of pure, unadulterated urgency. He ran, his tiny legs pumping with newfound purpose, directly into the heart of the chaos. He began carrying food, moving it away from the encroaching waters, his small body straining with the effort. He helped rescue trapped ants, nudging them, guiding them, pulling them from collapsing tunnels. He worked relentlessly, without a single pause, through the long, wet, and terrifying night. He didn't complain. He didn't question. He simply did what needed to be done, fueled by a desire to make amends, to be worthy. When the first fragile light of morning finally broke through the clouds, casting a soft, exhausted glow over the devastated forest, the storm had finally subsided. The colony was damaged, yes, heavily scarred by the night's ordeal, but it was alive, and its survival was thanks to everyone, every single ant who had fought with all their might, including, surprisingly, Kiro. The sun shone down on a scene of quiet resilience. As Kiro, covered in mud and utterly exhausted but with a profound sense of fulfillment, paused for a moment, he looked up. The queen ant, her regal demeanor still intact, despite the hardships, looked at him. Her gaze was soft, filled not with judgment, but with a deep understanding. True strength, she said, her voice gentle but firm, isn't in the size of your legs, Kiro. It's in your heart, the heart that takes responsibility. Her words resonated deep within Kiro's soul. He bowed his head, not in shame this time, but in humble acknowledgement. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to belong, what it meant to be part of something bigger than himself. He understood the profound importance of caring for his community, of acting when action was needed, and of giving back, not just taking. He had learned that true power wasn't about avoiding work, but about embracing your role, however small, and making a difference. This story of Kiro, the little ant who dared to change, holds such a powerful moral for all of us. We often find ourselves in situations where we blame others for our circumstances, or we wait endlessly for the perfect moment to make a change. I'll start tomorrow, we say. It's not my fault. We rush. But Kiro's journey shows us that we can change our lives by simply pointing fingers or passively waiting for things to magically improve. No, real, meaningful change begins the very moment we choose to take responsibility. It starts when we decide to step up, to own our part, and to act. Kiro wasn't the strongest ant in the colony. He certainly wasn't the biggest or the fastest, but he dared to change himself. He dared to overcome his own laziness and apathy, and in doing so, he contributed to saving his entire community. And sometimes, just sometimes, daring to change yourself is enough to change everything around you. It's enough to inspire others, to shift the tide, and to redefine your own destiny. So, here's a thought for you to carry into your day. If even a tiny ant, one of the smallest creatures in the forest, can change its destiny and find its true strength by taking responsibility, what's stopping you from changing yours? What's holding you back from that leap of faith, that first step towards a better, more engaged you? If this story of Kiro inspired you today, even just a little bit, please don't forget to hit that like button. Share this message with someone who might need to hear it. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more short stories that are designed to touch your heart and awaken your inner strength. Together, let's grow stronger. One story, one inspiring moment at a time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.